Fake Recorders. It's your host, Jason, and welcome to another little Change the Narrative special episode. This one is very, very different and very personal for me. I don't really have a little introduction to say. This was very last minute planned. I wasn't thinking on doing this episode. I wanted to do this episode back in April for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So trigger warning for those who might have trauma to maybe check out our happier episodes. I wouldn't recommend staying and listening if you get triggered easily. And I don't know where to start because I didn't plan to do this. So bear with me. But 3 years ago when I started high school, it was September 16th. It was a Thursday, I think, if I remember the dates correctly. That's when it started. That is when the next 3 years of hell started for me. Not the first day of school, not the second. It was that day. And why was it that day? That day, I met someone from the high school. That is the day I became friends with someone who was another homosexual. And I, being so young and everything and yada yada yada. Yes, I'm still young, I know. I got my head in over my heels. I put my rose tinted glasses on and was like, let's go. I can have my high school romance. And that's what a lot of gay people want, because unfortunately you can't really have, the chances of having a high school romance are very, very slim. Very slim. As a gay person, it's highly unlikely you'll have a high school romance. So I took my shot. And at first, everything was great. Everything was great. I thought I met him. I thought I knew him. I thought I found such a great person. No. What I met was an insecure, manipulative, narcissistic douchebag. I couldn't tell one from the other. And gosh, just that next year, just a mess. Absolute mess. On and off situationship, so much drama for no reason. Absolute mess. It was such a headache. It's how I met my best friend, Nuve, actually, who I do the podcast with. I was like, hey, I need your advice on this guy, and this is what's going on, and this is how he's treating me, and this is how I feel, and I do this, and he does that. And she was like, you need to cut him off. He's not a healthy person. I've known him for a while, and he's not a good person. You two aren't going to work. And every single person was telling me this. Every single person was like, you need to cut it off. You need to do yourself better. I was like, no, I got this. I can fix it. I can work on it. And it was an emotional abuse that was dragged on for a year. Over a year, actually, nonetheless. But for right now, before we get to the actual event, to give some backstory, the one thing I hated most about this is that we shared too many mutual friends. Everyone was in our business. And I mean everyone, even people we weren't friends with. His friends would come up to me and say, hey, I heard this, I heard that. This is, my friends would do the same, and it was annoying. I had to stop telling people about stuff. And even once I stopped telling people about stuff, it didn't stop. His friends were still dragging it on, coming up to me and going, hey, I heard this happened, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, just shut up. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear it. And it was just messy. It was a headache. It was unhealthy. It was annoying. It was uncomfortable. It was terrible. I didn't deserve that. I let it go after multiple on and offs, after him threatening to off himself over me, after multiple threats about me to him or directed to me. I cut it off. Wasn't easy. I cut it off. I went the whole summer, no contact. To find out the next school year that he'd stalked me all summer. He'd asked people about me. He'd hit up anyone that I started following. Gay guys, obviously. This man stalked me. And he said it straight to my face. And when did he say it? It was a football game at our high school one night. We went to what we call Transit, which is a parking lot for New Jersey Transit. There's a train station, so it's the public parking lot, and that's how it gets its name. It's an empty parking lot at night, and that's where all the teenage high school kids after high school games go to hang out to do their teenage high school football game after winning activities, if you know what I mean. And this is where us having mutual friends sucks, because we would be in the same vicinity of each other, and the environment, the air, everything was just toxic. And this one girl, we're going to call her Jazz, she came up to me and she did the same thing to him. I don't know who she came up to first. I think she went up to him first and then came up to me and said, you guys need to figure out your shit. You need to get your shit together. You need to stop doing this, because this whole toxic cutting off each other in sentences, weird looks, it's unhealthy and it drags everyone else's mood down. We're all here trying to have fun, and you guys are sitting here and killing the vibe. You need to work your shit out and forget the past and make up, and just, I'm not asking you guys to get together. I'm not asking you guys to be best friends. Just figure out your stuff and get it together. And I think she told me that she had the same conversation with him a few moments ago. And I told her, look, I've been doing nothing but trying to fix the problem with him. I gave up trying. If there's a problem, it's with him, not me. So if he wants to fix it, he can come up to me by the end of the night, because I'm not going up to him. I'm not begging him any more times. I'm not crying to him any more times. I'm not going to let myself down to him ever again. That was my little self-respect moment. And how long did that last? A few 10, 20 minutes, until he finally came up to me and was like, hey, can we have a little chat? And I tried to play it off cool, like, hey, I'm trying to have fun with friends right now. Can you hold off? He's like, no, let's talk right now. I want to talk to you. I go, oh, okay, whatever. And we go off to the side and we start talking. And let's just say I wasn't in the right headspace. Teenage parking lot, doing teenage things. Yeah. So I was no shape or way or form should have been communicating with him in that moment. We're talking and talking and talking and talking, and I'm explaining how he's made me feel and everything that's gone on. And he's like not really listening, but he's trying to do like the yeah, and like try to show like he's interested in what's happening. But again, like I said, wasn't in the right headspace, so I wasn't catching on to those things. And the one thing of that conversation that sticks out to me is when I confronted him about stalking me over the summer. He said, yeah, like he admitted it. Like he even admitted, oh yeah, I asked a few of these people about you and this and that. And I sat there and I looked at him with a straight face and thought nothing was wrong with that. Again, not in the right headspace to have this conversation. It should not have happened in this moment. I should have held it off. And we had our peace. He hugged me, I hugged him. And somehow that led to another thing. And I'm sitting in the backseat of my friend's car in his arms, and we're driving him home. And I feel like I'm on top of the world again. And I know it's terrible because then once we dropped him off, my friend looks at me and I look at her and I go, I know. Like, you don't need to say it. I know. And it started all over again. That last year, all over again. The messiness, the unhealthiness, the manipulativeness. I mean, I could get into specifics from the year before of all the stuff that happened. Homecoming, dance, all that stuff. I could talk about all of these events and things that just how he treated me and how he took control of me and manipulated me and abused me mentally and emotionally. And it's not worth getting into because that's not necessarily the matter at hand in this episode. I'm just trying to provide a little backstory, how one thing led to another. And so we agreed to be friends. We agreed to, hang out here and there, talk, make our, peace with the past and be better people. Look how long that lasted for. And one night, October 7th, 2022, honestly, at this point, October 7th, that's what I know. And I remember that day clear as hell. It was a Friday at my high school. We had a bomb threat that day, so the day got cut in half. School was canceled for the rest of the day, and I went out with someone. We were hanging out. That's another boy and another story for another time. And he texts me and he goes, hey, do you want to hang out? I go, I'm kind of out right now with people. I have stuff to do. But what's up? And he hits me with the, if you know lingo, I'm home alone. If you want to come over, parents are out of the house. And if you know what that means, you know what that means. And I thought to myself, that's not going to happen. It hasn't happened, even though he's wanted it to for like the last, year since we've known each other and met. But I never let it get to that point because that's not what I wanted, not how I wanted it to happen with him. Trust me, we got close to it happening multiple times. It just never led there because I stopped him. And I thought to myself, I could step on his turf in his home and confront him, really, like actually confront him about the stuff he's been doing again, and how this is all going down the drain again, and what he's doing, and how unhealthy and manipulative it is again, and try to stand up for myself. That's what I thought I could do. So little old me texts him and I go, sure, I can be there in an hour or two. And I cancel plans with the person I'm currently out. I go home. I tell them I had to pick up my little sister, or I had to go watch her, whatever the excuse was. And I go home. And I look at my older sister. I go, hey, can you drop me off at a friend's house? Because he lives across town. I didn't want to walk. And she goes, sure. And she drove me to his house. And I got there. We were just talking, hanging out, watching some movies. I'm trying to figure out how to confront him in my mind. And one thing just continued to lead to another and another and another and another. And I'm telling him no. And he's telling me, you like it. He's telling me, you know, you want to. And it's like, how do you know what I want when I'm clearly telling you no? I'm telling you no. Like, I'm literally saying, I don't want to do this tonight. I don't want to do it. I don't feel like it. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't want to do it. So how are you going to sit there and tell me you know you want to? Because who are you to decide what I want, right? And little old me being all vulnerable, thinking I can't stand up to myself. I just was like, okay, we could do this, but not this. And I continued to make up excuses for multiple things, and he just continued to dismiss them. For detail reasons, I'm not going to say what it was. Just happened. And I told him no. And told him stop, and he didn't stop. And it just continued going. I laid there. I just laid there. I let it happen to myself. I didn't fight back. I didn't scream. I didn't do anything. I sat there and let it happen. And I knew it happened. I knew. But I walked out of there with a smile on my face thinking the best day just happened. And I went home and I was looking out the window. I knew it, but I didn't want to admit it. And I got home. I just put on some music, tried watching some TV to forget about what happened. About 2-3 hours pass. I can't fall asleep, and it hits me. I'm on the phone with my best friend. I'm bawling my eyes out, and I'm explaining what just happened. It's all my fault. I didn't fight back. I didn't try to stop him. He didn't listen to me. He kept telling me what I wanted. And yeah. The next day comes. It's Saturday. I go to cross country practice. And I hadn't slept. Not much, at least. A few hours, maybe. Because my body just finally shut down after crying. I just shut down. I'm still in the same clothes that I left his house in. I didn't take them off the night before. Then I didn't take them off later that night afterwards. I didn't take them off in the morning when I woke up. I still wore those exact same clothes because my skin didn't feel like mine. I felt I couldn't take them off. Like it was like the only thing protecting me. I don't know how to explain it. I remember in the locker room, I was getting ready to change into my practice clothes, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't take off the sweatshirt. I couldn't change in front of the other people, my teammates. And I'd done it every time before, no problem. I remember going to the boys' bathroom, going, in the corner right in front of the mirror. And I looked at myself and I started crying as I was taking off my clothes. I'm sitting there looking at myself in my underwear in a fucking mirror in a bathroom in a fucking high school, crying, looking at myself. Yeah. I go back to the locker room after a little bit, wipe my eyes. Some people noticed. No one asked anything really. We go on our run for our practice. I hadn't eaten breakfast. I hadn't eaten dinner. I barely got sleep. I was tired. I was hungry. I was hurting. And I stopped. I couldn't do the full practice. I stopped short. I look at my coach. She looks at me. She goes, "Are you okay?" She could tell. She's a mother. She could tell that something was up. I just said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm great. Just had a little rough night." Asked her if she had some crackers on her because I was a little hungry. I hadn't really eaten. She said, "Sure." And I kind of just sat there next to her because being in her presence just felt nice. But I felt like a letdown because this situation was taking away from my time practicing, doing something I love, cross country at the time, of course. Comes Monday, I go back to school. I'm scared. I'm uncomfortable. Jazz, the one girl from before, comes up to me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, we need to talk." And I had a feeling it had to do with him. And I asked her, "What is it about?" She goes, "You just need to talk about it, like later or something. Not right here and not now." And I was like, "Okay." I had only told 2 of my friends at the time within that first week. It took me, I think, a day or 2, maybe 3 to tell my other friend because she was also friends with him. She's the one who introduced me to him my freshman year on, that Thursday. I didn't want to tell her because I was like, I don't want you to hate him. I don't want, like, see, this is my problem. I was thinking about everyone else at the time. I wasn't thinking about me. I never thought about me once. No one else did either. Wednesday, I'm back at cross country practice. I'd been going since Monday, Tuesday, but it comes Wednesday, I'm back at practice. I look at my coach and I go, "Hey, can we talk after?" After practice, I go, "Hey, can we just step outside and talk?" She goes, "Sure. What's up?" And I look at her and I go, "I can't do this anymore." And she's like, "Why? What's wrong?" And I'm like, I'm dying right now on the inside. Like, everything is killing me. Like, I am the other night, I hung out with this guy from the school. I went to his house. Some boundaries were crossed. The line, was crossed when a wall was put up. And she looks at me, "Stop, stop, stop. You don't need to tell me the details. Are you okay? Are you planning on hurting yourself? Are you planning on hurting anyone else?" And I go, "I don't know if I'm okay, but no, I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm not going to hurt anyone else." And she gives me a big hug and she tells me that she loves me a lot, that I'm such a great person, that I'm strong, that she just wants to make sure I'm not going to do any bad decisions because she's had her own experiences as being a woman, college and all that, as she tells me. And she wants to make sure I handle my emotions in a healthy way because her past, she doesn't want me to do anything. I tell her, no, I'm not abusing anything. I don't know it just happened and I don't know how I'm processing it. I haven't had the time to process it. And, she just wants to make sure I'm safe. And I tell her that, we sit there hugging a bit, talking. I tell her I want to go home. So she lets me go home. She was trying to convince me to, go to the cops, go to the school to get help. And I didn't know. And I went home, and now I remember I told my older sister, I sat in her bed, I go, "Hey, remember the other night I asked you to take me to that friend's house? He did this to me. This is what happened." I was talking to, my coach, my teacher earlier. She wants me to do this, but I'm scared because I don't, and she's trying to tell me I just got to do what's best for me. That she doesn't blame me for anything. And I told her I'm sorry that I asked you to take me there. She goes, "Why are you sorry? There's nothing to be upset about. It's not your fault. It's not my fault." I was like, "I figured you might like take some blame because you dropped me off." She's like, "No. Like, that's not And again, here I go thinking about everyone else but me. And I decide I'm going to talk to my school resource officer that I'm friends with the next day. And as soon as I get in the school, I go, can I talk to Sergeant Passamano? Can I go down to his office? And my teacher lets me. And he's not there. And I go down to the guidance, and I see the guidance counselor coming out of the office. And she goes, "Oh, Jason, can you come here real quick?" And my heart sunk. My heart sunk because I just had a feeling. And I go, "I'm looking for Sergeant Passamano. Have you seen him? I need to talk to him." And she's like, "Yeah, he's in the office right now. Where he knows we need to talk to you." And I'm freaking out because this isn't who I wanted to talk to. This isn't how I wanted it to happen. And sitting in a room explaining to your guidance counselor and vice principal using an atomy like health words to describe what happened, you don't understand how stupid that makes you feel. You cannot comprehend how stupid it makes you feel. And they call out my parents. My mom's sitting there crying in the room, and she hasn't said anything to me. My dad just gives me some looks, and all I hear her say is, "I knew something like this would happen eventually." Thanks, Mom. Like, thanks. You know how fucked up it is to say that in front of your child, in front of your, like. So they tell us they're gonna take us down to the police station, get an official statement, and go from there. And the cops go out of the room to get the recording stuff and all that for the statement. My parents are in the room with me, and my dad looks at me, and he just looks at me and goes, "None of this would ever happen if you didn't dress the way you did, if you didn't act the way you did, if you didn't post all those pictures and photos and videos that you take." And I look at him, I go, "Shut up. Just shut up. I don't need this right now. I need you to be my fucking father. I need you to shut up. This isn't about that. This isn't about that because it wasn't my fault." And he's like, "Okay, I'm just trying to help." And I wanted to punch him in the fucking face. I wanted to put his face in the ground so fucking hard in that room in that exact fucking moment. The cops asked if I want my parents in the room for the statement. I tell them no, so they have them leave. And again, using anatomy parts again to describe what happened in detail, full detail, to people you don't know. You don't understand how stupid that makes you feel. You don't understand how vulnerable and stupid it sounds. And I'm sitting there explaining everything, going back and forth, because some things I'm remembering after the fact. This is within a week. This is Wednesday. This is 5-6 days after. 5 days after, yeah. They asked if I want to press charges. And then they explain also if I do, it's not really against the kid. It would be against the parents, and it would be my parents pressing charges because I'm a minor. He's a minor. And I said no. Because I said, I don't know what I want to do. I don't think he wanted it to happen the way it did. I don't want to press charges. And here we go again, thinking about other people and not myself. And I don't, that drive back home, my parents were, it was just lunchtime. So my parents look at me and they go, "Do you want to go back to school?" I go, "I want to go back to school because I don't want to sit at home with them. I don't want to be anywhere near them after what I just heard come out of their mouths. And I call my best friend as she's leaving for lunch, and I go, hey, can you meet me real quick for lunch, like at the park? Can we, order food together? And I just want to sit with you. And I look at her, and this is my best friend since kindergarten. I've known her for years, and I haven't told her yet. I haven't told her. This is the third person I'm telling, besides, the teacher, the cops, all that. This is my third friend that I'm telling. And I'm sitting there on a fountain and I'm crying. I'm looking at her and I'm telling her what happened. I'm telling her what my parents just said. I'm telling her about all this. And I go back to school. And I sit there, phased out for the rest of the day. I'm just mentally checked out. Comes the next football game. Me and Jazz finally get to talk. And she's like, hey, told me what happened. And I look at her, I go, what did he tell you? And she looks at me and she goes, we were taking him home the other night after something. They went out. They're dropping off at home. And right before they dropped him off, he looked at her and her friend at the time, I think, or boyfriend, I don't know. I don't remember. And goes, I had sex. He tells them, I had sex with Jason. It was, and she goes, oh my gosh, you lost your virginity? And I want to point out that this guy had to sexually assault me to lose his virginity. Like, can we just say how fucking stupid that is? Just to show, anyways. And she was trying to ask him questions and he was just quiet about it. He didn't really he said it was good. It was fine. And he didn't really budge more. And I look at her, I go, that's not even half the story. And I tell her and I go, and she's looking at me, she goes, oh my gosh, I didn't know. I had no idea. That makes so much more sense why he was acting the way he was acting. And I was pissed off. Because how are you going to tell your friends you just had sex? Like, you won the fucking lottery and you did that. And you haven't talked to me since it happened. I haven't talked to you. And I text him after hearing that from Jazz. And I call him out on it. And then I block him. And I try to enjoy the rest of my night. And he comes up to me in the parking lot again, because this is where we are after the football game. And he goes, hey, can we talk? And I go, no, I'm really trying to enjoy my night right now. And he goes, no, can we talk? It's important. I want to talk right now. And I go, do we really have to fucking do this? And he goes, yes. And we go off to the side. We have a conversation. And he's giving the same exact bullshit. I should have stopped. I shouldn't have done anything. I'm so sorry. And he's not sorry, because he's not trying to talk about me. He's trying to silence me again. He's trying to do what he does best. And he makes it all about him again. And about how I react and how I did this and that. And the whole cycle begins. And I thought we worked our problem out. No, you don't just work something out like that. Next, gosh, this is October. So November, December, January, February, next 4 months. Absolute hell. I'm getting harassed. I'm getting looks from his friends, from people I don't know. There's comments, there's rumors that I did stuff to him. Everyone's turned against me. No one wants to listen to me. No one cares. Because that's what manipulators do. And he wins. Those 4 months, I had absolutely nothing. I was falling behind in school. I had to start cheating just to keep my grades up because I couldn't pay attention in class. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue what was going on in lessons. I was zoned out. I was crying almost every other night. I was staying up late. I was waking up. I had nightmares. I was screaming. I was sweating. I didn't feel like me. My skin didn't feel like mine. Those 4 months were hell. I could barely go out. I could barely do anything. And I finally just had it. I go, I want to tell you the truth. I want to tell everybody the truth. I want to put my story there, put it out. And I still got victimized. I still got hated on. I still got mistreated. No one wanted to believe me. I was the boy who cried wolf. I was handling it immaturely. I shouldn't be posting this now. It's been 4 months. Yeah, all this bullshit. I should have handled it differently. No, because how else should I have handled it? The police won't let me press charges. My parents won't press charges because they blame me, and the police won't let me press charges because I'm a minor and he's a minor, so it has to be my parents. I can't go to the police. I can't do anything. The school, I went to the school, talked about how I was being harassed, the rumors, how unsafe I felt being in the same classroom. The vice principal calls me down the next morning. This conversation lasts 2 minutes. He goes, we talked to the kid. He said, nothing's going on, nothing's happening, nothing's been going on, and everything's great. And he looks at me and goes, is there anything else we can do? And in those 2 seconds, those long 2 seconds, I could process nothing's going to happen. I'm the boy who cried wolf. And I got up. I gave him a big smile so I don't cause violence and handle another situation immaturely. And I tell him thanks. That's all. And I walk out of that office. I go to my guidance counselor, try to switch classes, and she makes it so confusing. She goes, the quickest way would be to just swap your math class with your gym class. I go, great, perfect, let's do it. And she goes, well, the problem is you already did your driver's ed, and that gym class is currently in driver's ed for another month and a half. So we need extra approval from the athletic director, blah, 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 blah. So you could sit in the gymnasium while your actual class is in driver's ed. And then we need to call home and verify with your parents. Call home. I've swapped my schedule 50 times throughout the year. And the next year, no one had to call my parents about anything. And I look at her and go, no, it's too much of a headache. Just forget it. I'll survive. And I go to my teacher now and I go, hey, I tried to switch classes. I'm not going to tell you the full story. I'm going to tell you, just keep me and the student away because we have very, very personal problems. Some boundaries were crossed, and I'm not okay being around him. I don't feel safe. I don't want to be put into a group with him. I don't want to work with him. I don't want to sit near him. I don't want to be able to look at him so that I can focus and try to learn in this class and continue on with my grade. And I tell her, I go, I don't want to tell you what happened because I believe he still deserves an education just as much as I do. And again, thinking about other people. And this whole time throughout this whole situation, I was doing everything for everyone else but me. And I still got blamed. I still got told it was my fault. I still got harassed. No one wanted to believe me. No one, the first time I really got assurance of what happened, the first time anyone really stood up for me, besides my coach, when she hugged me and, once I told her that day, besides the fact that she went to the school and that's how the school found out, but she has to do that. So I didn't hate her for it. She thought I did. I remember I looked at her the next day at practice and she goes, I'm so sorry. And I go, for what? She goes, for telling the school I had to. And I go, I'm not upset with you. You did what you had to do to keep me safe. I respect you and I love you for that. But the first person to really affirm me and what happened was my Marine recruiter a year and a half later. When I'm sitting in his office and I'm telling him that story and he goes, what's the kid's name? And he goes through his list and he goes, removed. I'm not going to reach out to the kid. I'm not going to try to. And I was like, I mean, not that it matters, but like, it's the first time. Crazy, right? Anyone like really stood up for me and did anything for me. A year and a half later, and it's someone who wasn't even there during the original problem. It's not like the kid was ever going to go to the Marines, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just that act that was like, yeah. it meant a lot, but it's stupid. um Gosh, I've been all over the story. I don't know where I'm at this point. um like I was saying, like everything I did was for everyone else but myself. That's all I was thinking about, was everyone else. And the one time I think about myself, I'm selfish. I'm handling it immaturely. I'm not handling it the right way. It's old news. You can't do anything right. um so yeah, I mean, that's basically my story. That's literally, I've obviously healed to an extent. I I want to say after those 4 months, when I finally posted and outed him for what he did, that's when I let go of what happened that night. That's when I finally let go of what happened that night. I wouldn't say I forgave him, but that's when I stopped blaming myself. That's when I forgave myself. That's when I let it go, and I was able to be myself again. I was able to start paying attention. I was on my way to start healing. I was not hurting as much as I had been. The part that hurt the most was everything after. My parents, the school, the cops, my friends. That's what killed me the most. And the fact that throughout the whole situation, I was always thinking about other people and exhausting myself instead of doing what was best for me. Do I still have side effects? Do I still have issues? 100%. That's never going to go away. But what happened to me that night, I let go of. I haven't let it dictate my relationship with other people, with other men, with myself, with my friends. What happened that night in that room with him has been personally forgiven on my behalf, not his. But I let go of that anger. I let go of that blame. I let go of that hurt. I haven't forgiven my parents. I haven't forgiven those people. It was the hurt that came spiraling after that did the most damage. I felt alone. I felt unheard. I felt not believed, not respected. That's what hurt me the most. That's what I won't forget. What happened that night? I forgot already half of that. Besides a few moments exactly. Like, I can't give you a full detailed conversation of how it went anymore. Besides minor things that stick out the most. They're not minor, but I've forgotten about that night. It is the hurt and the lessons that came after it. I let everyone walk over me. Everyone, not just him. And I let it drag me down. So if there's one lesson I learned, it's that people are cruel. Everyone is cruel. You got to do things for yourself. Be selfish sometimes. It's okay. Don't listen to nobody. Because when you're too busy worrying about, but how about how he's feeling, about their feelings, how it's affecting them, you're going to lose yourself. And that's what happened to me. I lost out a whole year. And that's why I say it was the worst 3 years of my life. I lost out a whole another year after that. My whole sophomore year, the rest of it, absolute shit show. I couldn't enjoy it. I didn't know who I was. I lost myself. I could barely hang out with friends. I could barely connect with people. That was that. And it wasn't until junior year I was able to start, being myself again, but one step at a time. One step at a time. I still wasn't okay. I still wasn't fully healed. I still hadn't found myself. I still hadn't grown enough from it. And I still haven't today. Still have not. I'm still piecing back together a new me, an improved me, or a parts of me that used to exist too that I lost and forgot. And it might be like that for the rest of my life. It might. I might not ever fully know who I am simply because of all that. There's a part of me lost that I don't think I'll ever find again. And I can feel it it's like an echo in the it's like an open sea. Like you can hear the waves crashing, but you can't see them. That's what it feels like. There's a part of me screaming to come back, to be let out, to be me again. But I can't find it. I cannot see it. I don't know where it's coming from. That's what hurts the most. So when people go, "Oh, you're so big and mature for letting it go and being a..." No, don't give me that bullshit. It's not about what I let go. It's not about what I've forgiven. It's not about that. I'm still hurting. I'll admit it. I'm still hurting. And I'll still be hurting next year. It's just that's how it is. I may never fully be healed. But I'll heal to the best of my abilities. So, with that being said, if I do decide to post this, thank you for listening to the end. I hope you guys were able to take something from this story. For anyone out there struggling with a similar experience or just sexual assault in general, because sexual assault comes under so many hats and forms, like, you're valid. You are valid. You are loved. You need to do what is best for you. Don't make my mistake. Don't make my mistake. Start focusing on you as soon as you can. Do not wait. Do not let it drag on. I know it's hard. I know it sucks. That's how it is. It's gonna suck. But do it for you. Do whatever you need to do to help yourself heal and grow from that. Reach out. Don't be afraid to start therapy. Get resources. There's so many out there. Talk to friends, loved ones, whoever's willing to listen and help you. Do it. Don't lose yourself, because other people will lose you in the process. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it discreetly, of course. Don't obviously send it to someone who might get triggered. Take a moment. I don't know if this episode was as hard for some of you or harder as it was for me to create. I had the initiative, I had the feeling, and I said, if there's any moment I'm going to do this episode, it's going to be right now, tonight, while I'm in this mood. Hopefully this is one more step to finding myself and healing. And hopefully it's out there to help someone else. So, you are loved. And take care. And this is Jason Oliveira signing off.